meeting is being recorded.
All right, so it's 12:01. So welcome to today's webinar, everyone. I'm Meg Amos, the Marketing Strategy Manager here at Results Repeat. For those of you who don't know us, we're a digital marketing agency. We provide search engine optimization. We do digital advertising, website design and development, and conversion rate optimization. We work with clients in the B2B, B2C, and e-commerce space. So I'm really excited for today's presentation. It's going to be on 5 keys to crafting a winning Google ad strategy. So first, thanks everybody for joining us. Just wanted to touch on a few housekeeping items. The presentation, as I said, is being recorded. All attendees will receive a copy of the slide deck and recording after the session. And lastly, if you have any questions that come up during the course of the presentation, feel free to use the chat feature. Put them in there, and then at the end of the discussion we will have some time for Q&A. So we have a lot of really good info to squeeze into 30 minutes. So just wanted to do a quick introduction of our speaker today. We have Rick Bartelli. He's our Director of Accounts. Rick has 20 plus years experience in digital marketing and entrepreneurship. He's worked as a freelancer. He's owned his own online directory and e-commerce businesses. And he's also worked for other agencies in the past. So he's experienced in pay-per-click, which we're here to talk about today, web design and development, SEO, content, social media, and analytics. So he is your guy if you have any questions. So today he's going to share about the ins and outs of Google Ads platform. So feel free, like I said, to pop those questions in the chat, and I will go ahead and let Rick take the reins.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. As Meg said, my name is Rick Bartelli. I'm the Director of Accounts with Results Repeat. I've been in digital marketing for 20 plus years and have owned a few businesses that range from an online directory, which was one of my first businesses, several e-commerce businesses, including in the competitive niche or niche, however you prefer to pronounce it, of flower and gift basket delivery. And I basically have been involved with my own businesses as a freelancer and a single person agency, working with subcontractors in the areas of website design, search engine optimization, PPC, in both local, regional, and national campaigns, as well as a good amount of experience in the social media realm. When you are doing anything long enough and you've been, your career has consisted of a combination of working for yourself and working in-house. The very positive thing about it is you get to see things from a number of perspectives. You get to wear a number of different hats, and you have no choice but to reach a certain level of expertise, or you're either going to get fired or you're not going to make any money on your own. So being in my 50s now, that is the benefit of staying in the same industry that has a lot of different landscapes to it. It's an ever evolving industry, and things are always changing across platforms, and Google Ads is certainly no different. I started working with Google Ads when I was in the early 2000s, actually. And Google's probably made hundreds of changes, algorithmically, features that have been added, taken away, over the many years that I've been using the platform. So again, my name is Rick Bartelli. I'm the Director of Accounts for Results Repeat.
Rick, really quickly, I'm sorry to jump in and interrupt. I just had a message that looks like your screen is not visible to our audience. So I'm just going to ask if you could kind of X out and try to reshare your screen, just to see if we can get a better. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Okay, everyone's saying it's visible now. So never mind. I guess we just needed to advance to the next slide.
That's interesting. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see the see my mug there, and I'll move on to our agenda here. Sorry about that technical issue there. So the agenda here, I felt I wanted to create a presentation that was able to be digested by the absolute beginner if you're a business owner and you're thinking about tinkering with ads and getting to understand the platform and run Google Ads yourself. If you're somebody who is working with a consultant or an agency, or considering working with a consulting and agency, and wants to be able to hold whoever is working for you accountable, be able to speak to the platform and be able to have enough knowledge to be dangerous while not necessarily being hands-on, to that intermediate and even advanced level individual. I consider myself somebody between intermediate and advanced. It's all subjective, because Google Ads is a platform where people have preferences. There's a lot of ways to make things work and achieve whatever your objective is. And objectives obviously vary. We'll go into that and how Google interprets all of that. But my goal is for anybody that's on this webinar, regardless of your skill set, your degree of expertise with the platform, is that you'll get something out of it, at least another perspective. So let's move on. The agenda is going to be the following 5 areas: understanding and implementing your campaign objectives, the relationship between keywords, ad copy, and landing page, interpreting Google settings and recommendations, the learning mode feature, what it is, and your campaign expectations, and finally analyzing the data and fine-tuning in the first 30 days. And of course, as Meg alluded to, we're going to finish up with a question and answer period and see if we can have some interaction where some additional information can be provided. And with that, let's move on. I wanted to also format this campaign in a manner that was showing a mixture of visuals and bullet points that I could expand on or that I could elaborate on. Typically, when you go into the campaign setup, this is what you're going to see at the beginning of a campaign. Google's trying to gather a certain profile of what it is that you're trying to do, and everything in the beginning is, what is your campaign objective, what campaign type best fits that objective, and what is your ultimate goal. So when setting up a campaign, you have any number of any number of objectives that you can set. It's not a matter of one thing is going to work for one area, but it helps Google's algorithm learn more efficiently and come to trust your campaign and provide recommendations and assistance in optimizing your campaign for better performance over time. And we'll talk about, Google's recommendations are not always in your best interest and are not always applicable, no matter how many times Google might tell you that it is. We'll talk more about that as well. So, in general, people have, most businesses, they're trying to do one of 2 things. Even though brand awareness and bringing general traffic to your website, promoting an app, of course, is a distinct type of campaign, a unique type of campaign. The main campaigns that are used in terms of objective are sales, leads, local store visits, and promotions. And this is because most businesses are either e-commerce websites. Their goal is to generate sales. Other businesses that are providing various services across a gigantic spectrum of areas, both locally and nationally, generally are trying to start the communication process, and therefore would create a campaign where the objective would be leads, and the leads being set up in a manner where they're fine-tuning a campaign to maximize the quality and quantity of the leads that are coming into the campaign, and be able to have that submitted to the individual department in the company that can provide immediate follow-up and hopefully turn that customer into a sale as well. In terms of local and regional businesses that are, whose emphasis is foot traffic and are looking to target their town or a particular mile radius of their town or a region of people that they know come to their store and they want to promote their business, that's where local stores and promotions would come into play. The other ones are used and they're used in tandem with, several of these campaign types are used simultaneously, depending on what your goals are, and your goals are not always one thing. So it's important, however, to understand sending initial signals to Google isn't define all for your to achieve your objective. In fact, more expert level users will use the create a campaign without a goals guidance, and that gives a more expert level individual complete control of the wheel in terms of controlling all the settings in the campaign, not giving any initial information to Google. However, I generally like to use, I do both. It depends on the type of client that I'm working with. But again, sales, leads, creating a campaign and optimizing it along the way. These are all parts of the initial configuration when you're building a campaign. Now, talking about campaign types, I would say most people use the search campaign, and the reason that search is most popular is because that campaign format really gets you, in a nutshell, it gets you on page one in the Google SERPs being search engine result pages. So individuals that want to blend in with page one rankings on websites that have been organically based on their the authority that Google believes that they have on page one, you have an opportunity to blend in with that with the text ad that could be accommodated by imagery or not. So search, I would say across the board, is the most popular campaign type, while display and shopping are all probably, I would say, run second and third. Shopping is another aspect. If any of you that look up when you are in a Google results page and you're looking at other areas you can go, images, maps, you'll see the shopping section there as well. And in the shopping section, which requires an integration with another Google platform called Google Merchant Center, which is out of the scope of this presentation, but it's another method that particularly e-commerce websites should take interest in and either use solely or use in conjunction with a search campaign. Display campaign is just what it sounds like. It's using a campaign that is providing digital assets. It's just typically used in remarketing campaigns. They're also used in conjunction with a search campaign and being displayed on Google search partner websites, and is another manner of creating brand awareness and also remarketing to somebody who has partially engaged but not necessarily taken action with one of your ads. So video, let's talk about video as well. As you know, as most of you probably know, YouTube is owned by Google, and if you are a company that has invested in or feels that your product or service will be better represented by a professional video or series of videos. Maybe your company already has a YouTube channel, and this is an existing strength of yours, but you haven't used it in a manner where you're integrating it with Google Ads and try to monetize it to the best of its ability. If you have a product or a brand that you want to be visible in YouTube, along with Google Ads platform and Google Search in and of itself, this is a great area to use a video campaign in conjunction with a search campaign or a search and shopping campaign. And again, discovery is a hybrid of being visible on YouTube. Gmail ads, Performance Max I won't speak too much of Performance Max because it's a new format. It's a new campaign type format that's been out about 6 months, but this is another one that has been put out there, and Google is speaking highly of it. But at the end of the day, the results in the historical data and what people have to say about it out in the world of experts out there, given more time, we'll know more about Performance Max. But this is intended to be an all-encompassing ad, an ad that is a text ad, provides digital assets, video, is displayed across Google in and of itself, along with search partners. It's meant to be an all-in-one, and time will tell if it is effective, and if it isn't effective, what industries it's effective in, and maybe not so fitting for others, and so forth. So moving on to the bullet points here to accommodate this particular section. of understanding and implementing your campaign objectives, campaign objective type and goal. Understand what it is that you want to accomplish and over what period of time. And this is important too. You want to be able to, we all know, like, well, of course, this should be a no-brainer. We want to accomplish results. We want to get more leads in house. We want to generate sales. But you have to take a step back and consider this at the beginning of your campaign, and understand that this is a long game in terms of anything that pertains to PPC or SEO, because you're constantly fine-tuning and optimizing and determining what to scale up, what to put the brakes on to maximize your return on investment. Just like anything else, same applies in terms of ROI and how to acquire maximum ROI with Google Ads. Set realistic expectations, map out a strategy with your agent, consultant, or yourself if you're the one that is going to be running your own ads. Realistic expectations, I've seen this plenty in the past. You really have to be ready to invest in Google Ads, not be in a situation where your expectations are unrealistic. An example being that you need to produce results immediately to literally be able to afford running your campaign in month 2 or month 3. Really position yourself to be able to afford, regardless of what happens, 3 to 6 months or longer, because month 1 is more data gathering, it's more discovery, it's more Google learning about your campaign. Most clients of ours, they see results pretty quickly, but it depends on the industry. But impressions, site views, site clicks, and conversions, whatever that conversion is, usually starts happening in the first couple of weeks, I would say. But to give up on something in month 1 or 2 is really kind of foolhardy. It should be understood, as I show, and I'm kind of going through this right now. Having a 30 to 60 day mindset when it comes to your campaigns. Give it time to ferment, if you will, in Google. Give it time for Google to understand what the objectives are that you're trying to achieve, and allow them to make recommendations, to flag certain things that might not be properly set up. And all during this time, you should be, or the person that's running your campaign should be doing certain things themselves, and we'll talk about that as well. And again, just, I would emphasize, understand and accept that results in terms of both quantity and quality takes time. You should be committed to a minimum of 3 months to determine if Google Ads is a proper solution for your company. But you also have to be active, whether it's yourself and or the consultant or agency that you're working with. That communication and discovery of what's not working but costing us money, and how to properly turn that off and scale up, optimize, make new decisions from the data that you have moving forward. And generally, that doesn't even start until month 2. So moving on to quality score, the relationship between keywords, ad copy, and landing page. It's all connected, and people miss out on this a lot. A lot of individuals that are trying to understand PPC, trying to understand how to measure it, and what type of keys, how many keys to the building they're going to give a consultant. Everything, put simple, a quality score is how Google measures the connection between the key elements of your campaign. And that is essentially, your keyword choices, your ad copy and usage of those keywords within that ad copy, and how it all applies to the destination page or the landing page. So, if you're running a particular campaign and you're advertising, your ad copy is written with, promoting your services and has call to actions, and the verbiage basically says everything that you're trying to communicate with the potential buyer, and your keywords are in place. If your landing page, if all these don't marry each other properly, so to speak, if there's not a connection to the landing page, and the landing page reiterates what's being said in your ad copy, and in promoting your services and offering a very easy and visible call to action, then you need to know, you need to look at that and decide where it needs work. Google determines quality score based on the consistency of communication and what it is that you're promoting, from your keyword choices, your ad copy, right through to your landing page. It analyzes all of that, not only during learning mode, but throughout the entirety of a campaign while it's active. And quality score is important because the better job that you do with it, and the more the better you fine tune everything, the higher your quality score goes up, and that will give you higher precedent in Google search results. That will affect your cost per click. That's a reward, if you will, of Google applying a high quality score to a campaign and saying everything about this campaign is right. There's nothing vague or out of sync on the landing page. The ads are written well. There's no copyright violations happening in the ad. You're promoting your products with the right keywords, and the marriage between your ads and your keywords have reached a strength of excellence, which we'll talk about when I start explaining Google's current ad format and their preferential, or their what their preference is in terms of their ad format, and also what they're retiring, which is their text ads, which have been around for a long time. So here, everything ad relevancy, just quick clockwise here: ad relevancy, ad click-through rate, keyword search relevancy, targeted ad performance, landing page quality, and overall account performance. This kind of encapsulates everything that I just said. They are all equally important, and some of the mistakes that people make is, well, I want to run a PPC campaign, a Google Ads campaign, and you can get your keywords right, you can write excellent ad copy, but then your ads, you're sending people to your homepage, or you're sending them to your contact us page, which is a bland, with many companies, has no information except informational fields. You have to, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. You have to be able to have a very easy means for a person to be able to fill out, complete a quick form fill, or call a phone number with bullet points that are reiterating what's being said in the ad in terms of what it is that you're promoting, be it products or services. Again, continuing to talk about the nexus of keywords, ad copy, and landing page. Keywords, choice of keyword match and negative keywords are critical, but could also change. One of the things that is important in getting your keyword match together is you want to come out of the gate with the best setup possible, but it is almost impossible to come out with a perfectly fine-tuned campaign. That will happen over time once you have time to analyze data and see where you can make improvements. But understanding keyword match, and while this is beyond the scope of the presentation, Google provides a phrase match, broad match, and an exact match. And we might make that part of a follow-up webinar at some point, a more advanced level webinar. But getting your key match right and understanding what words, a negative keyword list is part of your setup. Understanding what words people are searching, where your ad, Google is displaying your ad, where there's just not a connection there. They're not a potential customer. They might be doing some research. They might be trying to be a do-it-yourselfer and asking a how-to type of question. There's no commercial, or also known as buyer's intent, behind their search. So you definitely want to be on top of this from the get-go. You want to set it up and launch it as efficiently as possible, but you want to be able to fine-tune it along the way. And we'll talk more about negative keywords as being a critical part of fine-tuning your campaign. Your ad type choices, your digital assets, your bidding strategy. These are all paramount, but they're also, nothing is in stone with this. When you put this together, you are determining what is your goal. Are you implementing a strategy that is is maximizing your conversions? Is it built at the beginning to eventually maximize the number of form fills or calls that your business is getting? There's a lot of ways that Google wants to take your money, for lack of a better way of putting it. And you really need to lock down certain things and understand that, or you're going to be very discouraged and you're going to be hemorrhaging a lot of ad spend and not getting the results that you want. So, I say things will change. Nothing is in stone, because there is, if you know what you're doing and you're selecting the proper keyword matches, you have the right negative keywords out of the coming out of the gate, of which you'll add to, because you'll be able to see the search terms that people are finding your ad, that where Google is displaying your ad, and you'll want to fine tune and add to your negative keyword list. So it's an ongoing process to really reach that point of a well-performing campaign. Landing pages should always be optimized for performance, and it should be responsive by default. It's important to have, any site that's not responsive, which is basically mobile friendly, should really not exist today, for lack of a better word. 60 to 65% of people, at least in the US, are doing everything on mobile. If your site is not responding to the device, that's where the word responsive comes from, and the destination page or the landing page is not showing a version of it on a phone where all the calls to action, all your features and benefits of whatever your product or service is, as well as a very visible form that is above, or at least enough above the fold meaning a phrase that doesn't require any scrolling. You're seeing fields to fill out, or at least the initial fields. You're seeing a phone number, which is also a conversion, which also counts with a proper setup as a conversion. Some people would rather call in than fill out a form, but you want to give them the option, and you want to do that correctly as well. Search terms should be monitored daily in the first month of a new campaign and weekly thereafter. This is what I was referring to. These are the things that you need to start looking at right when you launch a campaign. You want to literally, and after day one, go to a search term section and see how people, exactly what their phrase is, and with respect to when Google is showing your ad. And you'll be able to see a lot of things that are they're just irrelevant. They're either searching for other brands and they're committed to another brand. They're entering long tail phrases that have nothing to do with inquiring about your service or interest in your product. And you really need to, but because they've included a word or maybe a couple of words from your keywords, Google has wrongly determined to display your ad. So this is one of the top ways, at the top of the list of ways you can quickly go through an ad budget and unnecessarily lose money because you haven't set up your campaign properly. But even if you have set up your campaign properly, you're still going to learn and find these search terms, and you should always be monitoring the search term section to basically block certain searches from showing your ad and having that person still potentially click on your ad. You don't pay for impressions, but you pay for clicks. And individuals may still be, if they think that there's something about your ad that is relevant to what they're looking for, but it isn't, will still click on your ad, and you're going to be charged for that. Let's talk about excellent ad strength and how it should always be pursued prior to activating a campaign. One of the things that is very, I believe, very trustworthy with Google, and something that can be relied on, is what's referred to as the responsive ad. And the responsive ad is basically their sole ad setup now that they're going with. Prior to that, they had text ads that they're retiring, I believe, next month or the next 2 months. But a responsive ad is great in the sense that it allows you to build a dynamic ad that is going to display headlines and descriptions based on what the user searches. So it really becomes dozens of ads when you enter. I believe it's 10 different headlines that are a combination of keywords and also call outs, calls to action. You want to have that nice blend when you're putting away, or excuse me, when you're putting together an ad, as well as 4 lines that they provide for descriptions, in which you want to reiterate certain things from your headlines, and you want to, in a grammatically correct, easy to read manner, describe your services, include any value adds in there, and so forth. And when building this ad, as you can see on the bottom here, this is a snippet right from the responsive ad builder platform. As you're building the ad, it's literally giving you giving you clues of what's necessary to continue to increase the strength of your ad. It'll be add more unique headlines, add more unique descriptions, and this is basically feeding off of the keywords that you've already added to your campaign. So this is fun in a sense that you're trying to create a very diverse ad that includes enough of your keywords and also is unique enough across its headlines and its descriptions that Google deems it an excellent ad build. And that's, again, going to come into play with quality score. It's going to throttle how much you're paying for your cost per click, regardless of what your bidding strategy is for your campaign and so forth. So that's very important in the setup phase. Here's some visuals on an ideal landing page setup. Now, if you were looking for something, a particular product or service, and you went to a Google ad and you clicked on the ad and it brought you to a contact page or it brought you to a home page, and then kind of left you on a little bit of a goose chase to find what it is you're looking for and how to reach out to the company. That should never happen. You're investing in an ads campaign. You're putting money into this. Everything should be firing on all cylinders. Everything should be optimal. And people often forget, well, I've created good ad copy here. I'm saying what I want to say. I'm using all the extensions of advertising real estate that Google offers me. And then I'm just going to send them to my homepage and let them hunt around for what they're looking for, or send them to my contact page, which isn't, reiterating what I'm saying in the ads. Your landing page should be built for conversion. It should be built for sales. It should be built to intrigue the searcher for further engagement. And these are examples. You want visuals. You want anywhere from a 2 or 3 to a 6 field form that they can submit. You want the biggest value adds of what it is with your product or service to be to be on this page as well, but you don't want it to be overly wordy. You want it to be simple for them, and you want it to be no more than a 10-15 second investment of their time to learn more. And this is the same if your landing page is a product page as well. It's the same as well. If you're promoting a particular category of products, it should go to a category. If you're promoting a particular product, it should go to that product's page. A lot of common sense stuff, but you'd be surprised how many people miss this, and as a result, their campaign is weaker and their results are less. One thing I would add too is always adding. I didn't show an example here, but always adding a phone number to the form too, because you always want to give in both the ad and the landing page. You always want to give the user the opportunity to call. Some people just like to call. They like to call instead of filling out a form and waiting for somebody to reach out to them. So having a call in place and having conversion recording set up properly so that calls are also being recorded as a conversion in the campaign in the same manner that a form fill is. Critical settings prior to the campaign launch. I was talking with Meg this morning about this. I could hold an entire campaign on settings alone, because there are so many of them, and there are some that individuals like to use more than others, and have more experience. But for me, Google is it's a pretty complex platform, and there are areas of Google that I choose not to use because between my knowledge of what's worked for me, where I feel comfortable that I have enough control of the campaign, and I'm giving Google control or autonomy, a little bit of autonomy to let its algorithm do the work. I like to control the campaign as much as possible. But here are some main things to consider. And if you're not taking advantage of them in your setup, you're leaving opportunity on the table, in my opinion. You should always know, what your ad schedule is. Is there any reason why you want to run your ads a particular time of day? Or maybe you only want to run them during the week. Or maybe you're selling a product or service where it doesn't matter. Your campaigns, you have people out there, and there are people out there that, they work they work night shifts, or they do a lot of search at hours of the night where most of us are sleeping. You have people looking for services on the weekends when they have time off, because they work Monday through Friday. That has to be taken into consideration when setting up an ad schedule, which you can completely control what days you're running, what times during that day, those days you're running. Those can be controlled. Those should be thought through at setup, but they can be changed at any time. General and advanced location settings. Where is your audience really? This is understanding that, if you're a national e-commerce website and you're selling throughout the US, you're selling globally, that needs to be, you need to target accordingly. If you're a real estate developer in Denver and you only service the city of Denver and maybe a 5-mile radius outside of Denver, these location settings are critical. Because you obviously want your ads being displayed to who your potential customers are. So this really, you're an e-commerce business where you're shipping throughout the US, your customers are everywhere in the US. Or are you a local or regional business and you want to keep, specific, even by zip code or county, or do a radius ad around a particular physical location of a brick and mortar business. This is why location settings are very important. Understanding bidding strategies. Remember that Big G wants to spend your money. So you should definitely, whatever your budget is for the month, depending on what days you're running, you want to break out your ad spend accordingly on a daily basis. And there are multiple bidding strategies, which again, I'll go briefly into, but there are ways that work in tandem with what your objective is, and understanding, letting Google know how much you want to pay. It ranges from letting Google know how much you want to pay per click. What is the maximum that you want to pay per click, to giving Google the steering wheel to be able to determine that for you. Bidding strategies, again, is another, it can be a webinar in and of itself. But if you don't lock down certain things, everything from location to ad schedule to keyword match type, and certainly including how much you want to spend per click, you can quickly lose money in a campaign. And Google really doesn't care about that. They're about monetizing their platform first and letting you figure out how to best optimize within it. Ad extensions are big here. Ad extensions and why you should be leveraging most of them. More copy equals more visibility. So ad extensions, and I'll show in the next slide examples of that. Ad extensions are beyond they're the areas of real estate that Google allows you to put value adds to your business, more features of your business, descriptions of the types of services that you offer. If you represent particular brands, there's a number of different types of content that you can put in your ad extensions, including your phone number, location targeting. I'll show you some examples of that visually, but these are things beyond the headline and just the description of an ad, which are the two, obviously most popular and critical areas. Make an educated decision with regard to device settings. Understand, and this goes back to, when you're building a landing page, which you should always build a landing page, your site and that landing page should always be mobile friendly, because 60 to 65% of people are doing, they're clicking on your ads, they're finding your ad copy. And if they get to a page where the site's not mobile friendly, the landing page isn't mobile friendly, or it is mobile friendly, but it's not, the contact information and the features of your services are not high enough up on the page where it's visible. People don't want to be hunting around. They want things to just pop off the page in terms of direction as to what they do next, whether it's making a call to the business or filling out the form, and having somebody follow up with them. And this is an example of that. This is a breakdown. I'm showing a desktop example and also a phone example because call extensions, adding your number, obviously is far more applicable on mobile devices. But you can see the various extensions that are provided here. Call outs, structured snippets, location targeting as far as where your business is, or different if you have different locations, having a call, having your number in place regardless. But again, it's going to get more engagement on a mobile device. Anything from affiliate locations to call outs, you can see fall right below the end of the description copy, and you want to be able to do everything you can to populate all of this real estate, because it's additional real estate that doesn't come at any additional cost to you within the platform. So understanding learning mode, the learning mode feature and campaign expectations, and understanding the Google Ads algorithm. At campaign launch and or change, Google is determining how to best serve your ads. So this is why you want to really come out with your best swing at the plate and think ahead before you actually launch your campaign. Google's going to go into learning mode for 70 days. They also refer to it as 50 or more optimization events within 7 days. But it can vary in terms of, in terms of your campaign. First, it has to be approved, and that could be a 24-hour time frame or more. And there could be some tedious reasons that Google wants you to make adjustments before deeming your campaign approved and eligible to run. What campaign managers should be, what your campaign manager should be doing during the time frame, and why it's important. In the early stages, whether it's yourself or somebody you've hired to do this for you, it's imperative that they're watching the campaign on a daily basis and making sure that everything has been approved, that the ads are beginning to get impressions within the first 24 to 48 hours. Watching like a hawk, watching the search terms and starting to build that negative keyword list, because regardless of your experience with the platform, you are going to learn a lot, and you're going to be optimizing your campaign right from the get-go by building that negative keyword list in terms of keywords that don't make sense and should not be displaying your ad. And we've already talked to that, so I won't elaborate more on that. But revisiting the 30 to 60 day mindset, being invested in the long game with Google Ads. You want to, whether you're an agency that's selling services, or you're an individual that's doing this yourself, again, you want to understand that it's a patience game. If you're an agency that's working with a company and you're just getting started with them, you really want to set that right expectation and letting them know that the first month here is discovery and data gathering and getting the information we need to improve that campaign for you. Doesn't mean you're not going to get leads. It doesn't mean you're not going to get sales in the first week of your campaign. You very well may. And in most cases, activity begins happening in the first 1 to 2 weeks. But you want to give yourself that understanding that month. You want to take on that mindset that, all right, the first month is a wash. It's a setup. It's an approval time frame. It's a window of time where there are certain things that I can control and make some subtle changes to, or respond to anything that Google might be telling you needs to be corrected before the campaign's actually launched. Data gathering during discovery month. Again, here, analyzing the data and fine tuning in the first 30 days. In the first week, in most cases, leave most of your setup alone and let Google learn what it is and what it isn't. While most campaigns that have been set up correctly will start producing in week 2. It's important to be patient and again accept that month as a as a month of discovery and a month of Google learning, and whoever's watching the campaign and managing the campaign learning as well. And that comes from really getting under the hood and monitoring that campaign on a daily basis, or several times a day within that first 30 days. Now review Google recommendations. Google recommendations is a feature that once the campaign has been fully approved and a certain amount of, it's had a certain amount of activity, Google wants to promote certain features, whether they want you to change your keyword match, whether they want you to increase your cost per click, and they're telling you that if you increase your cost per click by X number of cents, that will increase your conversions according to their algorithm by 2% a week, things like that. A lot of Google recommendations are to be ignored in my experience. Well, some aren't. But if you're not experienced in the platform and you go to, oh, look, Google recommendations, they're basically telling me what I can do to improve my campaign. And I'm just going to click apply recommendation. That's not only exactly what Google wants you to do, because they want you to spend more money, but it often can backfire, because most recommendations don't generally apply. You need to really understand what applies to you, what recommendations you want to say thanks but no thanks to Google and dismiss them, and because they simply don't apply, and basically move on. But always be looking at recommendations, whether you're going to consider applying them or not. Sometimes Google recommendations, they'll offer some keyword recommendations that you're not using in your keyword set. Review them. You often can find some gold there and some intel that where it makes sense based on your review of the keywords that they're recommending. Like, oh yeah, hey, there's more opportunity. There is an opportunity here. There is something to be had here. Let's apply these keywords or certain keywords that Google is recommending to the campaign. So lastly here, as you approach your 30-day post-launch, everything that you're learning will help you scale up things that displaying themselves as positive patterns, positive data, keywords that are resulting in more clicks and conversions, and other keywords that are, I'm going to say historically, because it's only been a month, but other keywords that in month 1 have been consistently clicked on, but nobody clicking on them is taking any course of action. So they're not high converting keywords, but they're money. They're costing you money. So this is how you optimize and fine tune and suppress certain things in a campaign that show to be having a negative impact, and you scale up the things that are working. And my last part here is, is a quote from Edison: "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." And I've seen that with people that have just not given enough time to campaigns. And it's all about optimization. Google Ads is very similar to search engine optimization in that you really have to be in it for the long haul. You really have to give it six months to a year and be properly financed, patient, but along the way, be looking at the data and making appropriate optimizations and figuring out what's costing you money and not working and producing results, turning those things off, or experimenting with other ideas that may produce a different outcome, and the things that have been working, and how to make those more prominent and invest more of whatever your budget is into the areas that are working. So with that, I will open it up to questions. And again, I hope this was helpful and didn't drag on too long, but Meg, if you want to take some questions or read some questions out loud.
No, thanks, Rick. I really appreciate all this insight. I think, people that were hanging out throughout the course of the presentation realize there are a lot of things that go into a Google Ads campaign, as you've emphasized. And it's, it's not just a quick plug in some copy and let it rip. So
Right.
That being said, we do have several questions. If anybody has to jump off, know that this is recorded, so you'll be getting a copy. But if anyone wants to stick around, I'll go through the questions. So first question from Lauren: what is a tip that has consistently worked despite changes over the years for Google Ads? If that's, even an option.
Read that one more time.
What is a tip that has consistently worked despite the changes over the years with Google Ads? Is there anything that's been just consistent over the years with Google Ads despite changes?
Yeah, a tried and true approach is really becoming familiar with your keywords that you're using, the match type of those keywords, and building out a negative keyword list that has been, revealing itself to over the course of time. If an individual that has launched a campaign and have added to their keyword list and fine-tune their keyword list, consistently trimming off keywords that aren't working, and having this balance between experimenting with what keywords are producing the best results, and also building that negative list that we know these are nonsense words, these are how-to words, or where can I do that. It's just, they include enough of your keywords for Google to make a decision to display the ad, but it's not relevant. So constantly building your negative keyword list using the safest keyword match, and I think my colleagues would agree with me in today's day and age, and this has sort of changed over time as well, is phrase match. Some keyword types or keyword match types have been retired in the past. Phrase match has not. Phrase match is something that is more affordable than an exact match keyword phrase, for one, but also because we live in a world where 70% of search, 75% of search is referred to as long tail search. People are talking to the search engines more than ever, more than they were 10 years ago. They're not entering 2 or 3 word queries. They're asking questions or entering entire sentences or statements where all the criteria of what they're looking for, whether it's a grammatically correct thing or not, they know how to use Google. They know how to use search. They're more of an educated searcher than again, even 10 years ago. And that's long tail. Anything more than 3 keywords, some will say 4. I like to say anything more than 3 keywords is a long tail search. And 70 to 75% of everything that's searched on the web in today's day and age is long tail. So that's another reason why phrase match is most effective, because phrase match is basically putting a couple of keywords in quotes and saying, okay, as long as this sequence of keywords appears in any search that a person is entering, then it will display the ad. In that, phrase match working in conjunction with an ongoing negative keyword list build that has been, I would say, one of the most tried and true strategies that have been consistently effective in Google's platform.
Great. Thanks. And Lauren responded that was an awesome suggestion. So next question comes from Brendan. What is one of the most common and costly mistakes that you've seen first timers make when they launch a campaign?
Broad match, without a doubt.
Okay.
That is the hemorrhager of hemorrhagers when it comes to budget. And Google, I want to sound, I don't want to sound negative or about Google. It's just that, you have to understand the platform to utilize it appropriately. And when people enter campaigns and they're using broad match keywords, they have to understand that you're giving Google free reign to allow anything and everything and anything in search that includes even a synonym of one of the words in your keyword phrase, and nothing else to do with what it is that you're promoting. It opens up a wild west, if you will. So and just a little bit of proof that you have to really watch Google, because they're about monetization first, and the onus is on you to figure out how to use the platform. Google actually, and my colleagues at Results Repeat, we often laugh about this. And this goes back to the recommendations where I was saying, don't take Google's recommendations with a grain of salt. One of Google's most popular recommendations that they're pushing heavily on people is to upgrade they're referring it to as upgrade your keyword match to broad type. So they're literally promoting sending you in a direction that is going to just burn through your budget and bring a lot of irrelevant impressions and clicks to your campaign.
Awesome. And then we have one more question. So automatic bidding, yes or no? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't like anything that, in my opinion, parallels a smart campaign. And smart campaigns are basically, campaigns that are not giving you, I know this is the response, but it's just, it brings up another point too, that an individual that's a novice can run a smart campaign with just the push of a few buttons, and they're generally not, they can be successful in certain niches, but they're usually successful by accident. Automatic bidding, I personally, I can see the use of it and it working in certain industries, depending on how the rest of the campaign is set up, or campaign types, depending on how the rest of the campaign is set up. But I like to have control of my money as much as possible and test that myself. So I prefer a maximum cost per click strategy. And what I do, I'll allow Google to give me feedback within a maximized conversions campaign where I'm just setting a daily budget, but not setting a cost per click. So I'm kind of dubious about automatic bidding. I can see where it would work, but it's not something that I typically have given that kind of autonomy to Google.
Awesome. Well, Rick, thank you again for sharing your expertise. I hope everybody got something out of this. We will follow up with the presentation and the slides. If you have any questions for Results Repeat, feel free to reach out to us. And I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Wednesday.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.